Hey guys, tonight we drift into the veil, into that quiet space between heartbeats, where breath no longer rises and the body releases you. You're not dreaming. You're not alive either. You've just left. The moment of death isn't loud. There's no dramatic light show, no trumpets or booming voices. It's soft, like fog, like the hush before dawn when even birds forget to sing. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Also, let me know in the comments where and when you're listening from. I love seeing the constellation of night owls around the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You float. Not upward exactly, more like outward. The air feels thick, like warm silk wrapping around your limbs. Everything familiar begins to fade. Names, calendars, the pressure of your chest. The world behind you, the one of car alarms, emails, hunger, grows impossibly distant. And below you, your body lies still. You're not in pain. You're not afraid. It's just strange, like looking at an old photograph and realizing you're the one in it. This first moment, according to many ancient traditions, is sacred. The Egyptians believed the soul, the Kasi, would hover nearby, watching the body, unwilling to leave too soon. In some Buddhist texts, it is said the soul stays for 49 days, visiting familiar places, whispering unsaid words. Right now, you're in that quiet pause. The Tibetan Book of the Dead calls it the Bardo, a dreamlike in-between, where you're gently encouraged to remember who you are, not as a name or a role, but as light. Some cultures leave a candle burning for 3 days. They say the flame helps guide the departing soul, like a lighthouse through mist. Others place coins over the eyes, not just to shut them, but to pay a mythical ferryman who waits on some riverbank none of us have seen. There's even a lesser-known tale from the Sami people of the north, who believe the spirit first walks backward through all its memories, retracing pain, joy, shame, love, before it can continue forward. You do feel something like that now. Flashes, hands you held, the scent of a particular rain. That time someone forgave you without asking for anything in return. The veil doesn't rush you. Time, here, is not a master. It is a soft companion. You linger just above your own chest, watching the stillness settle. Strangely, there's a comfort in seeing your form. It is empty now, not broken, not ruined, just done. Some traditions suggest that the soul in this phase is asked a single question, not by a god, not by an angel, but by the silence itself. Did you remember who you were before the world told you who to be? The question rings through you, not as sound, but as sensation, a ripple of warmth, a gentle pull. Scholars still debate what truly happens in this moment. Is there a soul? Is consciousness just flickering neurons? But in this narrative space we've entered together, those questions soften. They do not need answers. They just need stillness. And you're so still now. The room around your body, the skin forgets you slowly, not all at once. It holds your scent for a day or two, clinging like a memory that refuses to fade. You float nearby, still curious. It's strange to see how still the world is without you moving through it. Even stranger to watch the body, your body, begin to shift in ways you never imagined. The second day after death is hushed, but purposeful. The skin starts to pale as blood settles and no longer flows. It changes color, like petals drying on the branch. Not grotesque, not shocking, just different, just no longer yours. In ancient Greece, they believed the spirit hovered 3 days before departing entirely, a guest uncertain of the road ahead. This is why they washed the dead gently and laid them out in homes, so the soul could feel honored, not discarded. You notice something now, a quiet warmth leaving the body. This is not metaphysics. This is temperature, entropy, the poetry of cellular surrender. The skin begins to lose its softness. Without blood to feed it, it tightens, then yields, like a once full sail collapsing without wind. And yes, there is an odor. Faint at first, like damp wood. Some describe it as sweet. Others say metallic. But to you, it smells like farewell. In parts of rural Indonesia, there's a tradition of keeping the deceased at home for weeks. They are not seen as dead, just sick. The skin may wrinkle, but the love remains. They are dressed, sung to, fed in dreams. You find that beautiful. Here, now, without breath, you realize the living often rush through death. But some cultures choose to linger, to sit beside the body, to remember how sacred skin can be, even as it changes. Your hands, once calloused or soft or ink-stained, now begin to loosen. The fingers curl slightly, not from tension, but from nature's choreography. Muscles slacken, eyes sink. But the face still carries something of you, a piece you didn't know you wore. Some traditions suggest this is when the body becomes a true offering, not a vessel, but a gift. There's a fringe belief among desert mystics that the skin, in its silent decay, whispers to the sand, telling the earth your story. Each wrinkle, each scar, a syllable. You wonder what yours would say. Scholars still debate how much the body can remember in these early stages. Cellular memory, they call it. The idea that even after death, tissues hold echoes of music, pain, love, of everything you once touched. You lean closer. The chest does not rise, but the ribs, they seem to hum. Perhaps that's imagination. Or perhaps bones grieve too, in frequencies only the spirit hears. Back in ancient China, Taoist monks believed decay was sacred. Not to be feared, but honored. They called it the soft return, a phrase so gentle you almost weep. And here you are, witness to your own soft return. The skin you once itched, scarred, kissed, now returning to dust, molecule by molecule. There's no shame in this, no revulsion, only awe. Even the insects haven't come yet. This is the skin's chapter, its brief, beautiful farewell. You remember once being afraid of death, of this very moment, of pale cheeks and still fingers. But now you see, there is poetry here, in the way the lips stay parted, as if mid-sentence, in the way the shoulders relax, finally done carrying the world, in the way the skin lets go gracefully, like leaves after autumn's last breath. Some traditions leave flowers on the body, not for scent, but for company, as if to say, you are still beautiful. Even in this beginning of an end, you imagine someone doing that for you, tucking lavender beneath your chin, whispering thanks. The skin doesn't flinch. It doesn't mind being left behind. It simply becomes something else. And you, floating just above, drifting like candle smoke, you start to feel lighter, as though the skin's forgetting is helping you remember something deeper. You were never just skin. You were thunder and breath and forgiveness. You were music and silence and reaching. And now, you are none of those things. And somehow, all of them. The skin forgets you so you can begin to remember who you truly are. Now the quiet becomes alive with small motion. You hover in the air, if it can still be called air, watching the soft unraveling of what was once your home. And beneath the skin, life stirs. But not your life. Another. It begins gently, invisible to most eyes. But to you now, free of bone and breath, it glows like starlight blooming in the dark. Bacteria, tiny and ancient, awaken from their slumber. Not in malice, but in duty. They have always lived within you, peacefully, in your gut, your mouth, your skin. Faithful companions. And now, they begin their sacred work. Some traditions suggest that this is not decay, but communion. The feast of the small ones begins. These microscopic caretakers break down what you no longer need. Cell walls, connective tissue, muscle. It's not destruction. It's intimate. It's as if the universe sent its tiniest monks to sing your body back into the earth. In certain Aboriginal stories, it is said that the Earth Mother sends insects to carry your body's stories back into the soil. That each beetle is a messenger, each maggot a page in the book of your flesh. You smile, or you would, if you still had lips. There is elegance in this consumption. Waves of enzymes flowing like sacred ink. The tongue, once so loud with words, softens and folds inward. The lungs, once ballooned with air and desire, become tender and still. Your belly surrenders first, full of warmth, memory, salt. It is here that the body becomes truly porous. You are no longer sealed from the world. You open. You share. Even in death, you give. Somewhere a beetle stirs beneath a stone. Somewhere, a fly lands with reverence. The cycle has begun. In medieval Europe, people feared this stage, called it corruption. But in older cultures, those closer to forest, mountain, and ash, it was simply the next season, like winter after fall. Not to be stopped, not to be mourned, just embraced. Your body swells now, gently. Gases gather from the work of your tiny keepers. It's not violent, it's necessary. A soft puffing, like a loaf of bread rising one final time. Scholars still debate whether insects are purely instinctual or divinely guided. But here, watching them, you sense purpose. They do not feast. They minister. And they are not alone. Worms, too, will come. Not yet. They wait their turn. Those sacred scribes of soil. They will write you into the earth, one gentle curl at a time. There is a peculiar grace in how nature reclaims you. Your eyes, already sunken, invite the world in. Tiny creatures gather at the corners. They are not cruel. They are completing you. In some Central American traditions, the family leaves out food, not for the dead, but for the insects, to keep them satisfied, to honor their place in the grand undoing. And here you are, part of that offering. A temple dismantling itself with beauty. Your tongue, once tasting wine and laughter, now feeds colonies of unseen life. Your intestines, home to 10,000 organisms, become a lush meadow for the feast. You float, watching. Not disgusted, not afraid, but strangely moved. How generous the body becomes in death. How noble, even in silence. The scent intensifies now. Sweet and heavy, like ripe fruit too long in the sun. Some call it the perfume of endings. Others, the fragrance of return. You remember old fears, of worms, of rot, of being eaten. But now you see it differently. There is no eaten, only transformed. The feast is sacred. The guests are holy, and you are the table and the offering and the music all at once. The soul, say the old mystics, learns humility by watching its flesh be devoured. Not in shame, but in wonder. You nod, or you would, if you still had a neck. Some fringe beliefs say that these tiny organisms are the last creatures to touch the soul, helping carry the final residue of self into the soil. A whisper of who you were. A prayer tucked under the leaf litter. The feast continues. The body opens further. And in the air, you feel the shift. You are becoming less. And in becoming less, you are finally becoming part of everything. Now the deeper layers begin to murmur. You hover quietly as the body's scaffolding, the bones that bore you upright, that bent for children, knelt for prayer, cracked in grief, begins its long release. It doesn't shatter. It sighs. Ligaments loosen. Tendons soften. The spine, your faithful staff, no longer holds. And in that soft us-doing, the body folds inward, like a flower bowing its final time to the sun. You remember standing tall once, feeling strength in your shoulders, pride in your stance. Now that very structure bends in humility. There is no shame in this, only the elegance of return. Bones begin to whisper, not in words, but in a kind of echo. You can almost hear them recounting. Each fall, each embrace, each moment of stillness and movement. They don't lie. Bones remember truth. Some traditions believe that the bones are the last to forget, that they hold memory far longer than flesh. In Japanese Shinto funerals, the family often collects the bones after cremation, lifting each one with chopsticks, placing them lovingly in an urn as if they're reassembling the soul. You think about your own bones, what stories they hold, what dances, what regrets. The skull, now exposed in places, is quieter than you imagined. No longer commanding thought, it rests. A moon with craters, reflecting stillness. Scholars still debate the significance of the cranium in spiritual traditions. Some say it channels divine light. Others, that it is simply a chamber for neurons. But many ancient mystics believed it to be a vessel, a sacred bowl, catching dreams and cosmic music. You once held your head high. Now it tilts slightly, humbled. No longer thinking, just being. Elsewhere, ribs begin to shift. They no longer shield the heart. It has dissolved, leaving behind a quiet hollowness. Your bones open gently, like a gate. Somewhere in Siberia, old folklore says that bones, once buried, hum at night. They believe that if you press your ear to the ground, you might hear the song of your ancestors rising from marrow. You listen now, and the sound is not mournful. It is beautiful. A chorus of remembrance, pelvis, femur, humerus. Each name feels softer now, less anatomical, more sacred. You are a collection of ancient stones returning to the soil. In certain African traditions, bones are not buried deeply. They're brought out during ceremonies, touched, sung to, as if to remind the tribe, we are never far from those who came before. You like that idea. That bones are not remains, but bridges. Now your structure buckles slightly, joints loosen. The chest cavity, once proud and upright, folds inward like hands clasped in prayer. A quirky belief from the Himalayan regions tells of spirit winds, tiny breezes that pass through the ribcage of the dead, collecting the last bits of the soul's music. You feel such a wind now. It brushes past, whispering something you don't quite catch. Maybe your laugh, maybe your first cry. Your bones are no longer holding you. They are releasing you. This is not disintegration. This is devotion. The way cliffs erode into sand. The way stars collapse into silence. The way your spine bends one last time, not in defeat, but in surrender. Some traditions burn the bones. Others bury them beneath trees. A few leave them to sky and crow. But all seem to know there is power in what remains. And yet, you are not what remains. You are not these bones, as sacred as they are. You are the breath that once danced between them, the love that bent them into embrace, the memory they now cradle quietly. Bones begin to whisper because they were always whispering. You just weren't quiet enough to hear. Now, in death, you finally are. The body no longer knows your name. Yet something curious lingers. A slow, faint persistence. Hair and nails, stubborn as twilight, continue their journey even after you've gone. It's a common myth that they grow after death. In truth, your skin retracts, shrinks like old fruit in the sun, revealing more of what was already there. But it feels like growth. And in the stillness of the grave, even illusion is sacred. Your fingernails gleam faintly in the dim. Tiny moons once clipped in kitchens, painted for weddings, chewed in anxious silence. They now rise like tiny ridges from shrinking fingertips, as if reaching for something, or waving one last farewell. Hair, too, continues its slow display. Strands that once blew wild in wind or curled lovingly at the nape of your neck now seem to lengthen ever so slightly. It gives the illusion of remembering, of resisting the end. Some ancient Slavic traditions feared this sign. They believed such growth was proof the soul hadn't fully left. That part of you still lingered, unwilling to step through the final gate. Mothers would brush the hair of the dead gently, whispering, "You may go, you may rest." You wonder if anyone did that for you. In Tibetan sky burials, the body is offered to birds. Yet even there, the monks sometimes cut the hair first, offering it to wind or river. A final act of reverence, as if saying, even this smallest strand, deserves a sacred return. Your hair remains dark, or perhaps graying. It no longer shines with oil or health, but carries a strange dignity, like a banner held long after the parade has passed. Some fringe mystics believe hair is antennae for the soul, fibers tuned to the divine. Even after death, they say, it hums softly in the silence, trying to find its source. Scholars roll their eyes, but in this dreamlike space, you lean in, listening. And for a moment, you almost hear it. What would it mean for something once so mundane to carry part of your essence? In Mexico's Day of the Dead festivals, hair is braided into memorial ribbons, woven into altars. It becomes a thread between worlds, tying memory to matter. Your toenails now begin to dull. The pink fades beneath them. But they remain, stubborn and simple. Markers of presence, little shields that once walked the world. They seem to whisper, I was here, and they were. So were you. You imagine, briefly, the absurdity of it all. That part of you keeps going, even after your heart has stilled, even after your breath has flown. But maybe that's how it works. Maybe death is not a line, but a gentle unraveling, each thread releasing at its own pace. The body is not a machine shutting down. It is a garden closing for the season. Some leaves fall early. Others cling through the frost. Hair and nails are the final clingers, the last to let go. In parts of India, it is said that a soul cannot ascend if hair is tangled or unwashed. Ritual cleansing is done with warm oil and reverent hands. The dead are tended with care not for appearance, but for passage. You wish you could feel that. Warm water over your scalp. A final brushing. A kind voice saying, "You are clean, you are free." There's humor here too. Some Victorian families clipped locks of hair from their dead to wear as necklaces. Morbid, some say, but others call it tender. To carry a part of someone through time. A silent vow. Scholars still debate the reason why hair and nails persist. Is it biological? Symbolic? An echo of the living self? You don't need answers, only awe. The skin has begun to fold. The organs are already softening. But these keratin threads remain, like bookmarks in a story almost finished. You float above it all. Not sad, not proud, just quiet. And you wonder if, perhaps, the soul also has its own version of this. Some slow receding thread that keeps reaching, keeps growing, even after it's gone. And now, beneath the ribs, the heart, that sacred drum, fades. It has not beaten in days, but somehow it still holds presence. A hush surrounds it, as if even decay approaches this chamber with reverence. The soft tissues, liver, lungs, stomach, have already begun their surrender, but the heart remains distinct for just a while longer. It rests inside its cradle of bone and silence, no longer pushing blood, but still glowing faintly in memory. You drift closer. The heart was never just a pump. It pulsed with grief. It leapt for joy. It pounded in panic, softened in love. It kept rhythm with your days. And now, its final echoes stir in the hollows of your chest. In ancient Egypt, they believed the heart was weighed in the afterlife. Not the brain, not the words spoken, just the heart. Placed on a scale against a feather, its lightness, or heaviness, revealed the truth of your soul. You wonder what yours would weigh. Were you kind when it mattered? Did you forgive enough? Did you listen when silence was needed? Some traditions speak of a final heartbeat, not physical, but spiritual. A single tremor of release. A sigh the soul lets out as it steps fully away. You think you feel it now. Not a beat, but a soft tremor, like a farewell wave from deep within. In a few indigenous South American cultures, it's said the heart calls home 3 times after death. Not with words, but with pulses that echo in the spirit realm. A last signal, a final location. Somewhere, you imagine that call ringing out, a beacon, a whisper, a "here I am." You drift over your chest, watching the heart collapse gently into itself. No drama, no rupture, just a slow folding inward, like a tulip closing at dusk. There's a quietness here that feels different than silence. It is deeper, more sacred. The stillness of a church long after everyone is gone. The calm at the center of a storm that has already passed. Scholars still debate whether the heart has memory. Science leans toward no. But some recipients of heart transplants report strange new cravings, new fears, new dreams. Could it be the heart remembers? You glance down. Yours no longer moves, but perhaps it still speaks. There's an old story from the Celtic Isles of a woman whose heart beat 3 more times after she died, each beat calling back a memory, a song she sang as a child, a kiss beneath rain, the feeling of holding her daughter's hand. The villagers swore they heard it. They said her heart simply wasn't done speaking. Yours has softened now. Its edges blur. The tissues fade. But in the stillness, you feel a message rise. Thank you. Not from your mind, not from your bones, from the heart itself. Thank you for letting it feel. for letting it be wounded and still keep rhythm, for letting it break and then beat again. A quirky custom from Southeast Asia once involved placing herbs around the heart post-mortem, not to preserve it, but to honor it. As if saying, "You were brave, you endured." You imagine rosemary now, or sage, resting atop what once housed your deepest loves. The scent rises in your memory. And now, the heart begins to vanish. Not explode, not decay in violence, but vanish. It becomes less visible, more porous, a memory fading from a dream. Some mystics say that once the heart dissolves, the soul is free to wander further, that this is the moment of release. You float upward, not by choice, but by invitation. The body is letting go of its sacred core. And so you rise. You look back. The chest cavity is hollowing. The heart is no longer there. But its echo will remain for as long as echoes do. Even in bone, even in soil, even in the way someone remembers your laughter on a rainy day. The heart's last echo is not a sound. It is a ripple in time, in spirit, in love. You feel it now, one last time, and then gently it fades. Now the face begins to forget you. Not all at once. It softens, blurs, fades like chalk left out in the rain. The eyes, once full of recognition and fire, have collapsed inward. The sockets widen into shadow. But it isn't frightening. It's like watching a mask dissolve. You float above, watching gently, as the cheeks fall inward, the lips dry and draw back slightly. The nose sharpens, then flattens. The jaw loosens its once firm hold on speech and story. This was the face that greeted mornings, that mirrored pain, that blushed with love, that wore makeup, smiles, tears. It was your introduction to the world, and now it slowly forgets how to be you. There's no cruelty in this, only stillness. In some cultures, the face is painted after death. The Hopi placed masks on the dead, not to hide them, but to prepare them. Because in the afterlife, one must wear the true face of the soul. You wonder what yours looks like. The features fade not into ugliness, but into neutrality. The way night erases detail, leaving only silhouette and hush. There's a Japanese tale of the Nopara bow. Faceless spirits who drift through the world, but not out of horror. They have no face because they are beyond form. They remind the living, you are not your reflection. You feel that now. The lack of features becomes peaceful, a way of slipping the costume. Scholars still debate how much identity is held in the face. We recognize, interpret, attach. But in death, that anchor begins to lift. Some fringe beliefs say that the soul clings to the face the longest, that even as the rest of the body changes, the spirit lingers around the eyes, hoping someone will look again and say, "I see you." But that moment has passed. You've been seen, and now the face must rest. The skin along the forehead dries and pulls. The lips tighten, revealing the faint suggestion of teeth. Your smile is gone, but so is your frown. What remains is calm. In Haitian Vodou, masks are sacred. They hold spirit. When the face is gone, the mask becomes the memory. A way to carry you forward, even as your features melt into the earth. You feel lighter now, freed from recognition. There's power in being unknown again. Like a river losing its name and becoming simply water. The ears sag slightly, no longer tuned to voices or violins. But if you listen, if you truly listen, you can still hear something beneath the silence, like distant waves against a forgotten shore. Your face continues to fade, but in its place, something rises. An image, not of skin or symmetry, but of feeling. The impression you left, the presence you carried, the warmth others remember when they close their eyes. You are becoming less visible, but more real. Some say the soul wears a new face in the next world, formed not of flesh, but of light and sound and memory. A face shaped by every moment you loved and lived. You wonder what yours will look like. Will it have your mother's softness, the fierce kindness in your eyes, the mischief at the corners of your mouth? Or will it be something entirely new? You drift higher. Your body continues its slow surrender. But the face, now barely a face, rests in peace. There is no fear in it, no longing, just quiet. In a few more days, it will be unrecognizable. But even now, in this moment, you understand something vital. You were never your face. You were the expression behind it, the silence between your words, the glow behind your eyes. The vanishing of the face is not a loss. It is a release from mirrors, from memory, from form itself. And so, gently, you let it go, one cheekbone at a time, one eyelid at a time, until all that remains is stillness and presence, and the soft whisper of what you once were. 31 days. The body has laid still for a moon's turning. And now, something deeper begins. It doesn't happen in an instant. There is no trumpet, no sudden collapse, only a slow merging, a reunion with soil. Your form, once distinct, once upright and breathing, begins to vanish, piece by piece, thread by thread. What once resisted time now welcomes it. Flesh, already softened, darkens further. Bones dull. Organs have long since faded into the weave of earth and air. Now comes the moment when you truly become the soil. There is humility here and great peace. In many indigenous traditions, this is the holiest hour. Not the funeral, not the burial, but the becoming. The moment when the boundary breaks completely. When you are no longer separate from the trees, the worms, the wind. You are them. They are you. Some First Nations people speak of the bodies vowed to the land, that when we die, we give ourselves back. Not in debt, but in devotion. You feel that now. The earth does not devour you. It welcomes you. You return not as waste, but as offering. Soil particles form around your ribs. Roots begin to braid themselves through your chest. Your limbs, once tools of movement and action, now cradle seeds and beetles, tiny lives rising from your stillness. A tree's root brushes against your spine. A mushroom sprouts near what was once your foot. And above, unseen from here, a flower drinks from your story. It is quiet, but not empty. Scholars still debate how long it takes for a human body to return fully to the earth. Years, in some cases. But spiritually, many traditions say the transformation begins at 31 days, when enough has faded and enough has returned. This is not just decay, it is communion. You do not vanish, you disperse. Your molecules journey outward. Your essence weaves into soil and sap. There's a Zoroastrian belief that the bones hold a kind of final soul, called the Urvan, and that even as flesh fades, this inner soul must be protected until it finds the next path. You sense something like that now. Not fear, not ego, just continuation. In South America, some communities believe the dead feed the land, not symbolically, but literally. Their maize is sacred, because the soil is made of their ancestors. You have become part of that sacred soil. Not metaphor, truth. The worms now trace paths through your pelvis. The beetles carry fragments of you to other places. And the rain, when it falls, moves you deeper into the roots of things. It is not an end. It is the most generous act your body will ever perform. Even the bacteria, the ones that began your return, have quieted. Their work is nearly done. You have fed them, and in turn, they feed the soil. The circle turns. A fringe belief from the rainforest speaks of the whispering roots, that the dead speak to the living through the trees they nourish. That when a breeze rustles the leaves, it is an old friend saying hello. You wonder what tree might grow above you. A birch, thin and silver? A cherry full of blossoms? Or a simple pine, humble and deep? Whatever it is, it will hold your story, not as a ghost, but as breath. As carbon and water turn to branch and bark. And one day, a child will sit in its shade and never know they are being comforted by you. You do not mourn your body. You bless it, you thank it, and you watch it become more than it ever was in life. Not a temple, but a field, a forest, a prayer. When you become the soil, you do not disappear. You multiply, and the earth remembers, always. And then, in the space where time loosens its grip, something flickers. You are mostly gone, physically, merged with root, soil, wind. But your essence, your spark, it endures. It begins with a shimmer, a faint pulse in the unseen air, like moonlight behind clouds or the breath of a candle not yet lit. The spirit lantern awakens. It does not ignite with fire or sound. It glows, softly, inwardly, as if the part of you that could never rot, never falter, never belong entirely to the body, now stretches, breathes, and begins to shine. Some Gnostic mystics spoke of this light. They said the soul hides its flame while in the flesh, but after death, on the 31st day, the veil lifts, and the lantern begins to burn. You feel it now, a warm presence at your core, not in your old chest that has returned to the soil, but in the center of your being, somewhere above, or within, or between. Scholars still debate whether this idea was metaphor or mysticism, but in this dream space where we linger tonight, it feels real, undeniable. The light doesn't cast shadows. It reveals. It does not blind. It welcomes. You remember now, not names, not dates, but truths. The way kindness felt when given freely. The sound of forgiveness. The weightlessness of joy unburdened by need. These memories become the fuel of your lantern. Each one a flicker. Each moment of love, a flame. You are not burning. You are becoming luminous. In Eastern traditions, this stage is sometimes called the soul's flowering. After the decay, the light. After the silence, the song. There's a tale from the Sahel that speaks of the wind fire. It says that when a good person dies, a flame drifts through the plains. Invisible to most, but to those who grieve with open hearts, it warms their skin, even on windless nights. You wonder who might feel your flame, who might sit alone someday and shiver, and then, unexpectedly, feel peace. This is not the fire of ego, not a blaze to be seen, but a lantern. And it glows with stillness. In certain Tibetan practices, the 31st day is marked with a ceremony, a floating light sent downstream, symbolizing the soul's readiness to continue. Not clinging, not rushing, just ready. You sense that readiness now, not as urgency, but as acceptance. Your old life is not a chain, it is a root. And now, with the lantern lit, you may rise from it like a blossom. Some fringe philosophies speak of this light as guidance, not for you, but for those who follow. Your lantern, they say, helps illuminate the path for souls still wandering. You like that? The idea of glowing not for self, but for others. A lighthouse not needing to arrive anywhere. Your flame pulses again. Steadier now. You are no longer earth. You are no longer name. You are no longer breath. You are presence, memory, light. The insects are long gone. The roots have woven through your absence. And above, the world has moved on. But somewhere, perhaps in dream or whisper, your soul lantern glows. Just enough to remind the universe, I was here, I loved, I became light. And in that glow, you feel something else, a pull. Not backward, not upward, but inward. A movement toward something even deeper. Not a destination, but a gathering. Something is waiting, calling, but not with urgency, with invitation. The lantern grows brighter, and suddenly, you remember the river. The one whispered in old myths, sung about by monks and mothers. The river that ends one story and begins another. The light within you is drawn toward it, gently, steadily, like the tide to the moon. You do not resist. You simply glow and move forward. The river is not water, not entirely. It is more like breath that remembers being water, or light that has forgotten its edges. You drift toward it, your soul lantern casting no shadow, only warmth. This is not the Styx, nor the Ganges, nor any river ever mapped. And yet, it is all of them. A silent river that threads through every faith, every dream of death, every whispered prayer at the foot of a hospital bed. You stand at its bank now, not with feet, but with presence. And the current hums like a lullaby. Some traditions call this the return. The Egyptians spoke of it as the journey westward, where the setting sun carried the soul home. In Norse belief, the dead crossed icy rivers to reach distant halls. In Hindu texts, the soul wades through subtle waters, cleansing the last clinging thoughts before rebirth. Scholars still debate whether this river is real or myth made from longing. But here, now it flows, and you begin to step in. The current doesn't push, it welcomes. Each step dissolves another thread of self. Not in pain, in peace. Your worries, gone. Your regrets, evaporate. Even your name begins to loosen, like a ribbon floating downstream. The lantern within you dims, not because it dies, but because there is no more darkness to illuminate. You meet others here, but not in the way you met in life. No bodies, no introductions, just recognitions. A grandmother's laugh, a friend's kindness, the soul of a pet who once waited at your door. All moving gently, silently, together. Some whisper the same story in different tongues. That this river leads not to judgment, but to reunion. That all souls, however torn, however tender, meet again here. Not to explain, not to defend, just to be whole. You feel the weightlessness now. Not of floating, but of belonging. The river does not ask who you were. It simply receives who you are. In parts of Polynesia, the dead sail across the horizon to an island where no one is lonely. In Gnostic tales, the soul crosses waters of forgetfulness, only to remember everything true. You wonder what you'll remember when you reach the other side. You let yourself drift. Past the memories, past the names, past the need to ask where you're going. The river knows. And finally, you feel it. A stillness so deep, so winky, so clear. It holds every version of you. The child, the lover, the wanderer, the one who hurt, the one who healed. All floating together, woven into a single luminous thread. You have not disappeared. You have become complete. The river slows, and you feel yourself being gathered, not into a place, but into a presence. Something vast, kind, familiar. It does not speak. It does not judge. It simply receives. And in that receiving, you dissolve, not into nothing, into everything.